Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another episode of Under the Radar, where we talk all things film. And I have with me one of my favorite power couples. We have Rachel Kolb and Eric Godfrey. Welcome back, guys.
How's it
Hi.
going?
Good to see you guys. How's everything?
Going well.
Going well, yeah. Dobby's passed out and
Oh.
we're all ready to talk movies.
Yes. Hi, Dobby. Miss you. All right. All right, guys. So we've got a lot to cover today, but I just wanted to just go real quick. Weekly watches. What are you guys watching nowadays? Take it away.
So this week on HBO Max, the reality documentary show We're Here came back. And its first episode back, it's just proving that it is one of the most unintentionally relevant shows that's on right now. It's the best comparison is something like Queer Eye. It is three drag queens that go into small town America. Each episode they're in a different town across the country, and they put on a drag show with local drag performers or aspiring drag performers, and they basically act as coaches, they act as mentors, they act as therapists sometimes. And with the recent backlash against drag queens and very much against the LGBTQ community, it is probably the most dangerous that it's been to be doing what they're doing. Yeah, this is maybe the second episode that I've thought that they were in actual danger. And the stories are beautiful. The work that they're doing is important. It's such a wonderful show, and I hope HBO Max keeps supporting it, because I know that they're having a tendency to cut everything right now, but it's such a great show. I hope they keep it around.
What's it called?
It's called We're Here.
We're Here. Okay, I might check that out. Okay. How about you, sir?
I'm trying to think. I know haven't been really watching too much, kind of various little things. We finally started Severance. That's one I've been meaning. That's been on my long to watch list from Apple TV. And then a lot of the holidays starting to pick up. So Great British Baking Show holiday edition. And we're trying to finish the final season of Dairy Girls, but it's a show that honestly I don't ever want to end. So I'm kind of not looking forward to watching the final episode.
Just don't watch. Just hold off for as long as possible.
That's unfortunately kind of how it is. It's like it's the last episode, and it's like no, because after that, Dairy Girls is done, and this show is phenomenal. And it only had 3 short seasons, and I just wish there was more.
All right, I'll check that out too. As for me, always watching reruns of Seinfeld. That's my eternal playlist. But also, I just got into HBO Max's The Big Brunch. And Rachel, I know you might be into that show too, because it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek, Eugene's son, obviously, is one of the hosts, one of the guest judges. And basically every episode has a bunch of really, really talented chefs concoct brunch dishes and cocktails, and it's funny, it's fun, and it's a typical cooking show, but with Dan there, it kind of adds this kind of hip vibe, and he's really funny too. So I highly recommend that, The Big Brunch.
I did see a clip that was making the rounds of Dan Levy explaining how he became the face of clam infused tomato juice, clamato juice.
He's a fan. He's a big fan of that.
Yes.
And I am too, actually. It's actually a very good drink. I don't know, clamato. People at Clamato, if you want to be a sponsor for Under the Radar, feel free. But no, it's a fun cooking show, and I think everyone should watch it. However, there is a little bit of profanity. I don't want to sound like a prude or anything, but it's kind of unnecessary, because if they could just cut out the profanity, it would actually be a really good family show. in my opinion, but that's just my 2 cents. All right, so I want to talk about 3 trailers that just dropped recently, and I know you guys want to talk about it too. So these are two franchises and one potential franchise. The first one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I believe it's written and directed by James Gunn, who returns from the previous films. And, this looks hilarious and action-packed as the previous entries. I'm excited for it. I always thought the Guardians were a very unique group of superheroes, very, very different from the Avengers. They're kind of badass, which is awesome, and really, really funny. So I think this movie is gonna it served them well. So what did you guys think of the new Guardians trailer?
I'm pumped. I mean, you're right. The Guardians movies. I think, when we come to ranking the Marvel movies, I think that Guardians 2 is one of the best movies out of the whole bunch.
Awesome.
I think Gunn has just been remarkable with this franchise, and I'm just glad after all, like, there's so many of the cluster that came to be that now we're finally getting what he intended, and especially because it's clear from what he said that this is going to be really Rocket's movie, which of course Rocket is always my favorite of the Guardians.
Right.
And just the fact that it's like we're getting Adam Warlock, you saw the High Evolutionary there, and I used to be obsessed with the Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning run of Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what got me started. That's this version of Guardians that they ended up putting on screen, and the outfits they're wearing are taken straight from that version of the comics. So it's like he's in the outfits I love, all the great new characters, a great new villain. Right. I can't wait.
But the important question, are we getting more Howard the Duck?
I hope so. I mean, where clearly they showed Lila the otter, which made Rachel go crazy.
I was waiting to get a chance to talk because there's an otter in this trailer, and I love otters.
And not just
much.
An otter, Lila, Rocket's girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah.
It's good. I love it. I love the storylines and we're exploring the characters. We're getting deeper and deeper, and yeah, it's exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, so I'm super pumped for the Guardian for what's going to be the last, unfortunately, of the Guardians, but man, I can't wait.
Well, Eric, you are the resident Marvel expert on Under the Radar, so I feel your excitement and anticipation. So it's awesome.
Definitely.
Cool. All right. Next up, we have more of a favorite of mine. We've got the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I've been excited for this since 1993, since the horrendous cult followed original Mario movie with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. This is obviously much different. It is computer generated animation, and I was a little on the fence when I heard that Chris Pratt was going to voice Mario, but from the trailer, I'm kind of sold. I'm getting there, and I think he's going to do a good job. The visuals obviously are amazing. It's a beautiful, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful film, and I think this is going to spawn much more, a lot more films. But the thing I'm most excited about is probably the fan service. It's going to be there. It's going to be extremely nostalgic. Especially for kids who grew up, in the late 80s and 90s, such as myself, who, we were like the first, we were the testers of the original Mario games. And, I'm very optimistic with this movie based on the trailer. How about you guys?
I think I know Nintendo has been incredibly protective of its stuff, especially after that, like you said, the horrendous Mario movie. That it has genuinely surprised me. It's taken this long to do an animated Mario movie. Like, it's one of those things where it's like you look at so much of Nintendo's catalog, and from Kirby, even Zelda, where they would make such great animated franchises, and I think it looks great. I'm definitely behind you, where I think people are being way too odd about I think it's the problem of Mario has such a specific sound and voice based on the games, but it's like
Yeah.
you don't really want that type of
Yeah,
Mario for
well,
90 minutes.
So
True, true.
the best tweet that I saw about this, they said this is what you guys wanted Mario to sound like, and it had a clip of Jared Leto from House of Gucci.
Mario.
Why?
But I think honestly, probably the thing I'm looking most forward to is Jack Black as Bowser.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is weird because if I would have thought they would ever do a live action Mario in like the 90s, like after 93, I think Jack Black would have been a perfect Mario.
I can totally agree with that.
But he's kind of older now, so I don't think it would work. It would work now. That's why I think Bowser was a good choice. Anya Taylor-Joy is the princess.
Yep.
And okay, interesting.
And Charlie Day is Luigi.
Right, who has a hilarious moment with Bowser in the trailer. I'm excited, it's going to go in so many cool directions, and I'm excited.
Well, it's also clear it's pulling from a lot of Mario. I mean, we saw the Mario Kart and Rainbow Road in the trailer, so it's like we were talking a lot of Mario inspiration to pull from.
I have to chime in as one of the resident theme park people. Universal Studios is doing this massive expansion, which they're calling Epic Universe, and a big part of that is going to be a Mario themed world.
Oh my God.
That's gonna mirror their one that they have currently in Japan, which is just amazing. It's so cool.
So it's basically like a playground in the theme of Mario World.
Well, to the point that they have rides as well. They have
a Mario Kart ride.
Yeah, they have a Mario Kart ride at the Universal Studios park in Japan.
Like there's from what she showed me, because she was showing videos, like there's like little wristbands you get, and you can punch the blocks to collect points for you. So like, you see people down there hitting the blocks and collecting points on their little tags.
I'm gonna have to go on YouTube and check those out because
it's gorgeous. It's amazing.
I love it. I love that. I love anything interactive. Just so that's awesome. All right, so that's Super Mario Brothers the movie, and yes, and also the third trailer that I want to discuss. It is, of course, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, or Indy 5, if you want to hashtag that. And basically it's the fifth outing with Harrison Ford returning as the Man in the Hat. And this one, it's interesting because there is like a flashback sequence, I believe, or a few in the movie, where they de-age Harrison Ford to make him look like
I definitely noticed that in the trailer.
It looked good too. So I'm excited.
Plus the fact that we're getting our first non-Spielberg.
I know
that Mangold's taken over for the director's chair.
Right. So Spielberg is producing. I think George Lucas is as well. But yeah, James Mangold is directing, and I think that they have learned their lesson from Crystal Skull.
Because I think you're absolutely right.
Just from this trailer alone, it looks really action-packed and it looks tight. It looks like it's well constructed. I'm very, very excited. I love anything, Spielberg related, obviously, and we're going to get into a film that is directed by Spielberg. But the Dial of Destiny, it's actually a kind of a catchy title. I'm not against it.
Well, it reminds me of kind of like one of the things that I always loved about like the 90s and everything with Indy was there was a lot of games and everything put out, and that's such like Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis and Indiana Jones and I think it was like the Emperor like of something. Right. It's like it's pretty Dial of Destiny, perfect little serial Indiana Jones adventure.
It's like a nice extension of the Indiana Jones Chronicles, I believe it was.
Right.
With what was his name? Sean Patrick Flannery?
Yeah, the Young Indiana Jones series that they did.
So
but man, that trailer blew me away with how exciting it looks.
It was cool. I mean, I was excited back in 2008 with Crystal Skull's trailer. Actually, it was the teaser that got me, because it was like the first Indiana Jones film since 1989. Like it was 19 years later, and Harrison Ford's back. And again, I got excited seeing this. I watched it, twice And yeah, I'm excited to see Harrison just running around and beating up Nazis.
I'm just glad that the Nazis are the villains again. And like what's clear, and I was reading an interview with Mangold that I think what the flashback is supposed to lead up to is that this is very much about Operation Paperclip, the whole when ex-Nazi scientists came over to work for NASA. And so I think that's kind of the setup is Indy up to his own stuff in the past and having to deal with something that was past in the future, and the fact that probably some Nazis, I'm guessing I saw Mads Mikkelsen in there, working for NASA, meaning that he's still got to deal with the modern day Nazis hidden amongst us.
Indeed, indeed. And I wonder, I'm assuming we're going to get some supernatural activity here.
I'm hoping so. I'm
Yeah,
hoping that they.
And I'm curious what the dial is, the dial of destiny. So
Well, even though it's NASA, I hope they don't go like the full weird alien route that
I
Crystal
think that
Skull
they
did.
learned their lesson.
Yeah. I mean, but for Crystal Skull's credit, that those alien effects were pretty good.
The alien thing didn't bug me as much. I just wasn't as. I have a lot of issues with Crystal Skull, and that's actually not the biggest one.
I think my biggest is the swinging monkeys and Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
that was just cringeworthy, but we can move on.
That's a whole different can of worms.
Indeed. All right, so those three. Oh, and also, it might be John Williams' final film score. So what a way to go out, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the man is in his 90s. God bless him. He's given us so much beautiful art. So
it's hard to debate, but is there a better composer? Like, there's great composers out there, not to undermine a long history of great film composers, but I don't think anyone has had the impact that Williams has had.
He's an institution.
Yeah.
For sure. And in that token, the Jurassic World movies, their scores were pretty forgettable. I mean, no disrespect to Michael Giacchino, fantastic composer, but you know, we need John Williams in our lives. Really, he is a true maestro.
Yeah, and Michael Giacchino is always better when he's doing his own thing, as opposed to coming into something that already has a pre-existing theme that's so associated with it. Such as Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is
those are really big shoes to fill. So we'll see what the future of the Indiana Jones franchise holds in terms of the music. But all right, guys. So that rounds out the trailer discussion I wanted to start. And those are some really big movies. So 2023 is going to be an interesting year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if hopefully all three of these are great.
Definitely. All right, so let's get into our first review. So we just spoke about a Spielberg heavy film, and here we have a Spielberg helmed drama, coming of age drama actually, called The Fabelmans. And this is actually sort of autobiographical of Spielberg's actual childhood. He's a young boy up until about 18, and his discovery of film and his love for the craft, and he basically uses that craft at a young age to basically cope with his family issues, his issues at school. You know, there is a very strong family dynamic here. There is a plot regarding divorce, kind of a spoiler, but so there's divorce, there's, you know, adjusting to a new school and bullies and young romance. So there's a lot going on here with the main character, who is based on Spielberg. His name is Sammy Fabelman, and he's actually portrayed by a very talented young actor, Gabriel LaBelle.
Yes.
And I thought he was fantastic. He actually is one of like thousands who were considered for the role, and I think they made the right decision with Gabriel.
Agreed.
So this movie was actually well over 2 hours long, but for me it breezed right by.
I could have sat in that seat for another half hour.
It was just a very pleasant viewing experience, and the same was, you know, with West Side Story last year. You know, Spielberg again, he knocked it out of the park with The Fabelmans, and I think this is a strong contender for Best Picture.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. It's the thing of last year, my favorite movie of the year was West Side Story. And the fact that Spielberg is just making some of the best films just now, it's just, it's terrifying how good of a filmmaker this man is.
Yeah, he just
And
keeps getting better and better, it seems.
yeah, and the thing is, like you said, like there's spoilers, but the thing is, like, it's if you know anything about the life and career of Steven Spielberg, it's a very you know what's to expect. It's like the thing of like, especially like I watched one of my favorite behind the scenes movies of his that I used to watch was Saving Private Ryan,
Yeah.
and there's a section when he's in Arizona and he's with his Boy Scout troop and that he's filming those World War II uh the World War II film. And that if you watch the same program behind the scenes, he shows that film that he did and like all the little tricks of like burying the sticks of where they would do that to kick up the dirt to make it look like a bomb came off. He was always talking about that. So it was surreal seeing the recreation of having actually seen that he still has those old films of his from way
Yeah.
back when he was a kid.
That's so cool. And I love that do it yourself
Mhm.
style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And he was doing this stuff back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And imagine what you can do now. It's really impressive at a young artist at work.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think that Spielberg is so good at the blockbuster, so good at the personal stuff, and I feel like we miss the fact that this is a guy who understands how to convey emotion
hmm,
on screen so well and does it so well that it's almost like that people recognize it when anybody tries to imitate him because nobody really can
right.
because because he's
Mhm.
and it's just and Fabelmans just shows where that love and desire for this craft comes from.
Right.
And I absolutely adore this movie. I will be watching it again. Like I
Yeah.
said, there's still a lot of movies I haven't watched from this year, but man, Fablemans is definitely my favorite of the year so far.
Oh, really? Number one?
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So I also want to talk about the performances other than Gabriel, who is fantastic.
Hmm.
A true, young star on the rise, in my opinion. I can't wait to see what else he can do.
Right.
We also have amazing performances from Michelle Williams
Yes.
and Paul Dano. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Otherwise known as the Riddler, but in this, he knocks it out of the park. You can actually see his face. And yeah, they play a married couple. They play the troubled husband and wife, but they are very believable, very likable. And there are just moments in this film where I don't know, it's just so genuine.
Yeah.
This is considered, I think one of Spielberg's most personal films,
Mhm.
and it shows. He's definitely depicted these characters as like real people because they are based on real people, and that definitely shines through that realism and that earnestness. So, again, Spielberg is amazing. Thank you, Mr. Spielberg.
Yes, and can I also throw out some praise for Seth Rogen as well,
Yes.
playing a very he's definitely kind of like a comedic element in this family very early on, but he shows a lot of range in this film.
Right. Agreed. He's still his Seth Rogen self, but kind of like a notch above his knocked up persona. So yeah, we get a strong performance from him. We get a relatively short performance from Judd Hirsch.
Who just steals that entire just comes in like a just firebolt and just is just mesmerizing to see that whole little moment that he's there.
He's like in the movie for maybe like not even 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, but you can't take your eyes off him. He's just absolutely just amazing.
Yeah, he's been great since Taxi or even before that. But yeah, this movie, and it was also, again, it's scored by John Williams, of course. That's also very special.
Yep.
And honestly, I wanted more. I just when the movie ends, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I wanted more after that final shot.
Oh,
Like,
that final again, that's spoiling that final punchline. I was like rolling in my seat laughing so hard.
I could have seen this also being a mini series, kind of like the way that he did with Band of Brothers, like doing a whole series of the Fabelmans and having it be like this HBO Max like movie level sort of production, but
Right.
having it be like, 5 or 6 episodes, and I would have watched it.
I agree with that. Yeah, and if it were a mini series, it would have been longer. So it would have been basically maybe a 3-hour movie chopped up into segments, into episodes. Which, yeah, Rachel, very good point. Yeah, this did feel like kind of a mini series, but yeah, it's just a special film. The performances were great. I definitely have to see it again, because it was just something magical about it. Because it was weird, because it's a very simple story. Like the bullying aspect was kind of cliche, but the way they handled it was kind of fresh and original.
I mean, I think it's just a lot of it is because even though it is cliche, it's one of those things where it's what Spielberg would have had, like what he dealt with in high school. I mean,
and it's like,
it's like when
the anti-Semitic stuff, it just
it
keeps coming
keeps
back,
coming back,
and it's like they never get any new material.
Yeah. Well, that's a theme. That's something he's trying to come to terms with, some kind of combat anti-Semitism through his films. Obviously Schindler's List. Yeah, I'm trying to think here. Empire of the Sun, there weren't Nazis in that, but obviously
because that was more based on the Japanese
yeah,
side of the war.
yeah. But I'm really happy that he's done this movie. I prefer these. I mean, it's like weird. Like, this is like a very quiet personal film, but at the same time it has glimmers of blockbuster. So it's an interesting line that he's walking here. So,
well, it's so much about Spielberg. Like, you see how much of his life has already been put into all of his movies. That so much of his childhood, from the Boy Scouts to the movies that he's loved and shown, and everything, just little bits of him is everywhere in everything he's ever done. And you see that, whether, like you said, with Schindler's List, and Munich, with wanting to look at atrocities against the Jewish people, or the Boy Scouts with Last Crusade, and having Indiana Jones be a member of the boy, even fighting on top of the circus car, like he in his first obsession with the greatest show on earth. It's like all great film, like all great artists, Spielberg is always peppering in his personality into all of this.
Yeah, you even get a bit of like the beginnings of Spielberg lighting with his mother dancing in the car lights.
Right. And again, I always mention this man's name, but Janusz Kaminski, who is the cinematographer for most of Spielberg's films over the past 20 years, 20 plus years, I think, since he did, I think it was Schindler's List was the first, and then he moved on to like Lost World, and then stuff in the 2000s. So his lighting,
Did I rewrite that he's had the same editor since the 70s also?
I think his editors changed. I think Michael Kahn,
I can't remember.
Yeah, Michael Kahn's one. He did a lot of the 80s films.
Which, considering this movie's honesty about the effect of editing on film.
Yeah.
This Fabelman is very clear about how important the edit is.
Yep.
I love it. And I really hope kids get to see this movie so they can be inspired by Spielberg, and they can start making their own movies, just like Spielberg did in the 60s with like nothing, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, from one Spiel nerd to the other, I'm really hoping that term catches on at some point. But yeah, this is the Fabelmans, and it is currently in theaters. So please, guys, check it out. It's a fine film, and it's on my top 10 list. So we'll see if it wins. I hope it wins some.
I think Michelle Williams, at the very least, is going to be she's going to be vying for best supporting, I would guess. Either supporting, or she could even be argued as lead.
Yeah,
I think more lead. I think she has top billing. I think it's her,
she does,
and then LaBelle.
Yeah,
I did notice that she has top billing.
And Paul Dano, I would love to see him get awards love for this. He doesn't have as and that's kind of by design, and also speaks to their characters, that he isn't as showy of a character, but there's so much depth and there's so much going on. Like, it's funny because his character is a computer engineer, and so many of the interactions that he has with his kids, whether it be explaining like how film works, or explaining how like the train set that they just got for Hanukkah, how all the different pieces work together to, or explaining in music how if it's a run in a particular key that it evokes a certain emotion.
Right.
It brought me back to a lot of conversations I had with my dad when I was younger, who is also an engineer, and had a very similar way of looking at the world, of very much breaking it down to those elements and seeing the bigger picture that comes out of these little details.
Right, and that's a great mix of like the scientific analytical mind versus the creative artist, and how they kind of work together in a way. So
Right.
it was really a beautiful relationship between him and his father. So yeah. All right, guys. So I think it's unanimous. I think we're all in agreement that we are fans of the Fabelmans, and we recommend it.
Like I said,
Yeah.
loved it.
I'm renewed in my desire to watch every Spielberg movie, and also to watch every Paul Dano movie. So
Yes.
and heck, I'll also throw Michelle Williams in there. Why not?
Why not?
Let's watch all of Michelle Williams' filmography as
Love
well.
it. All great. Oh, and I want to see more of Gabriel LaBelle, because he was
Yeah, absolutely.
just a great young actor. So, all right, awesome, guys. All right, so we're gonna take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with our second film review, Disenchanted, right after this.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending, interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Randy Younger, Under the Radar. And our next film review is a sequel to a movie that came out 15 years ago. So better late than never, maybe. In 2007, we had Enchanted, starring Amy Adams as an adorable Disney princess who lives in the animated world, who gets sent into live action New York City. So it's sort of a Roger Rabbit, Cool World-esque fantasy adventure. And it's a wonderful film. One of my favorite live action Disney movies for sure. But flash forward 15 years, we finally get a sequel. And unfortunately for me, it kind of fell flat. It seems like an unnecessary movie. It's an unnecessary sequel. They had so much time to really perfect it, to really have a good script, a good story. You have, Amy Adams is back. You've got Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, and Idina Menzel, all reprising their roles from the first film. But in this one, the story kind of gets flipped, and the real world becomes the fantasy world, but it's still live action. And you've got Maya Rudolph as basically the villain. Again, unnecessary, decent songs, decent music, good performances especially from Amy Adams once again. But it's kind of unnecessary in my mind. But guys, Rachel, I know you love your Disney stuff. What did you think of Disenchanted?
Oh, so to give some backstory, I came into this the most willing to give this movie a shot. I love the original Enchanted. When it first came out, I went to go see it in theaters. I had That's How You Know was my ringtone for a very long time. Um, I like coming out of the movie, I remember like immediately wanting to get the soundtrack, being able to like immediately have these very memorable songs that were from it. Happy Working song, True Love's Kiss, That's How You Know, like just these fantastic, fantastic songs. And these great settings that they have them in. That you have like sort of the, you know, the stereotypical cynical New York setting, and then having these very like sweet, pure Disney movie moments happening within them. And the fact that you have young Amy Adams that is just really starting to come into her star power in this movie and show just the range of her abilities as a performer. It was very much a lightning in a bottle type of moment for a movie. The biggest problems for me with this sequel. Okay, I will talk about the things that I like first, and then I will get into the things that I think it just gets terribly wrong.
Okay.
I'm happy they brought back almost all of the original cast. They actually recast the daughter, the actress who plays the daughter, even though she looks a lot like her. It's actually a different actress because the other actress is way too old now to play the age that they're talking about in the movie.
Right.
I was happy to see a lot of the actors back. I was happy to see them give Idina Menzel several songs in this movie, which was nice because the first time around, everyone was like, "You cast her in a role and she doesn't sing at all," and she's great talent. But now Disney knows what what they can do with her, and they give her several songs to do. Great
Right.
choices. Best songs of it are by far there's a morning breakfast song where the kitchen kind of comes to life and the like toaster and like all the kitchen appliances are singing, and Patrick Dempsey's kind of playing this character of like the perfect Disney prince.
Yeah.
Like that scene is very funny, and there's also a song between Amy Adams and Maya Rudolph that is definitely going to get a lot of play at drag nights, and definitely a lot of karaoke performances.
Right.
Now, the things that I think that it absolutely fails in, I think it really fails in understanding the parts that worked about the first movie. Some of the best things about the first movie were James Marsden as the prince, just absolutely so funny, so fantastic, and everybody wanted more coming out of that first movie of his character. And they give us less. They give us so much less. There's so little of him in this movie, and it can barely be termed as a cameo. And the characters that we get more of in this movie are Patrick Dempsey and the daughter, which honestly were like two of the weakest characters in the first movie.
Right. Yeah, and it's weird with the daughter. The actual actress from the first movie has a cameo in this, but
Yes, she does.
But the actual, the performance, the main performance is a different actress. I don't know why they did it that way.
It's because as you said, like 15 years have passed at this point,
Right.
and she's supposed to be playing a high school student, and the actress is now like in her, I think, mid-20s, or like early 20s.
I think she's
like
24. Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem is that the story that they ended up deciding on telling, because I know that they've gone through several different like rumored versions of the script of like the story that they were trying to do with this one.
Right.
This is by far not the only iteration of the script that came out, but this is the one that I'll say settled on, because it definitely felt like a settling moment.
Yeah, it was just disappointing. It really, 15 years have passed, and the first one was so good, and they really they tried some new stuff with the, but this just falls flat.
Yeah, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out why that they acknowledge in the story so much time has passed, yet everybody acts like the first movie was like a week ago.
Yeah, and Amy Adams, like the character
They're
Giselle,
like she hasn't learned anything.
well, she acts like she's gone backwards as
Yeah.
far as her understanding of things. At the end of the movie, she's kind of realizing that she's coming into this family and that she's, that she's having to, understand her role in that. And then at the beginning of this movie, they're moving out to this town seemingly just because Giselle wants to, with no regard for, for how her stepdaughter feels, for the fact that she's, starting high school, for the fact that now he's going to be having to like commute this long way every day for his job.
Yeah.
So it felt like a huge step backwards for no reason whatsoever.
That not just a step backwards, but it feels like that it's like she's been living in the world now for X amount of years, and she's still like, I'm a princess and all this stuff and blah blah blah. And it's like at this point, she would have like learned like this is the new world I've accepted. I'm no longer the naive princess that I was in Enchanted.
I don't even mind her keeping all of her Giselle things like the dresses, like that sort of stuff. That's the stuff that makes her
it's
unique.
the attitude that
right. She hasn't changed at all.
It's not just the look. Yeah, she still acts like she was.
She's not a protagonist. So she hasn't changed.
Yeah, exactly.
She has this very like selfish, childish attitude through most of it, and I hate that.
Which is what she was in the first one too. Yeah.
I think Patrick Dempsey was the protagonist in the first one because he kind of changes and accepts Giselle.
I can see that. Yeah,
but that they kind of come part way with each other. That he accepts some of her, like he accepts her eccentricities, her love of like bright colors and dancing and singing at random, and she comes to understand like that especially relationships and families are much more emotionally complex. Like one of the best scenes from the first movie is when she actually gets angry for the first time, and she's just like she's having a fight with him, and it's the thing that it's like, I care about you, but I'm angry with you, and it's okay that I'm expressing those emotions and that I'm allowing myself to feel those things.
It was like her true personality shining through in that one moment.
It's a really lovely moment, like teaching kids about like about the necessity of conflict, also that it's like it's necessary sometimes to have those fights out, and to to be able to know how to have a healthy conflict, so, and it feels like none of that is reflected in the story of Disenchanted. It's very
sloppy.
It took all over the place. Lessons.
I'm so disappointed overall. I think possibly my favorite aspect was Maya Rudolph's character.
Yes.
I thought she was a fantastic villain. She looked the part. She was funny. She was sassy. And again, the song you mentioned, Rachel, between her and Amy Adams, where they're kind of like dueling it out through song. That's the best song in the movie, in my opinion. And it's a fun one for sure.
And even that one, I like, as much as I enjoy it, I'm just like, oh, it's the song with the two of them. I don't know what the song is called.
Good versus evil. I don't know. they're both kind of evil.
Spoiler? They're both evil at that point. They're both definitely being they're under a spell, and
but again, unnecessary sequel. I expected so much more. One of my favorite moments from the original Enchanted was when Giselle enters the transformation from animated to live action. Something about that was it's like ingrained in my memory. It was just such a beautiful moment. Great scene. Also, side note, or at least I used to be a huge Patrick Dempsey fan. Back when I was younger, maybe teenager. I don't know why. He was sort of a role model for me. And I think this is before Grey's Anatomy. That's when I kind of lost interest in his filmography. But it's totally random side note. I wanted to mention a movie that he did in 1991 called Run. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's basically an action thriller with him. He's in his 20s. He plays a law student who basically has to drive a Porsche into a very bad neighborhood. The Porsche runs out of gas, and he has to, I think it's either he ran out of gas or there's something wrong with it mechanically. Anyway, he gets into a fight with a mobster. Then the mob family goes after him. The mob owns the city. They own the police. So basically the cops are corrupt. The mafia is after him. And it's basically him, running away from these dangerous people. It's called Run. It's from 1991. I just wanted to get it out there. It's a great film, and it's very young Dempsey. But back to Disenchanted.
Yeah.
This is currently on Disney Plus, and if you are diehard fans of the original Enchanted, I recommend it. If not, don't waste your time.
Yeah. I will say that if I might recommend a different movie that has a very similar feel that just came out this year and is also on streaming, Spirited. Spirited, extremely similar vibe to the original Enchanted. Definitely has been a surprise holiday film for me this year. Memorable songs, for as unmemorable as the music from Disenchanted was, the music in Spirited has been very memorable for me. And also kind of has a lot of those sort of fish out of water moments that kind of endeared me with Enchanted.
Nice. Okay, good to know. Is that on Disney Plus?
That's on Apple TV.
Yep, that's the one with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. Their Christmas Carol revamp.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not a huge fan of either of those actors, but if you give it a glowing recommendation, then I am for it. I will give it a try. So that's awesome. And speaking of holiday movies, the holidays are coming up. We're in the middle of the holiday season. So I'm curious, guys, what are some of the films, what are some staples for your holiday traditions, movie-wise?
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Muppet Christmas Carol is definitely a big one. My family watches White Christmas every year, to the point that I think me and my siblings can recite the entire movie at this point. We could probably perform a lot of the numbers from it.
True.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic. It's a wonderful Danny Kaye, Bing Crosby, Rosemary Clooney. So very good stuff.
All the Doctor Who Christmas specials, especially Doctor Who Christmas Carol episode.
Okay, cool.
One of the best episodes of Doctor Who, and easily the best of all the Christmas specials.
Yep. And also on the weirder side, or not weirder, but I should say the less conventional Christmas movies. I have to give a shout out to Tokyo Godfathers.
Yes.
Just fantastic movie about animated movie about three homeless people that find a baby on Christmas Eve and are taking care of it and kind of trying to figure out what to do about this baby.
Fantastic movie.
Wow.
From the late great Satoshi Kon.
Okay, is that streaming?
I don't believe so.
It's probably it might be available somewhere for rent.
Yeah, I think it's available for rent, but I'd have to check.
What was it? Tokyo what?
Tokyo Godfathers.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. Really good, actually.
Yeah, it's from Satoshi Kon, who did Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, an amazing. He did Paprika, amazing filmmaker.
Yeah, Paprika, which has been very much like a lot of visuals are tied to movies like Inception. A lot of dreamlike movies like The Cell definitely drew inspiration from it.
Yeah, no, Satoshi Kon was a absolute just amazing filmmaker.
But whereas movies like Paprika and Millennium Actors are a lot more kind of out there, especially visually, Tokyo Godfathers is a much more grounded, sweet, very just heartfelt movie.
Yeah.
Good to know. And what is Dobby's favorite holiday movie?
What do you like to
Oh,
watch,
buddy, what's your favorite holiday movie?
Christmas Buds.
The Christmas
Yeah,
Buddies.
the Air, what is it, Air Bud Christmas edition?
Perfect.
What do you think,
For
Bud?
me, well, I've mentioned it before, but Scrooged, Bill Murray. I love that one. A Christmas Story is also a great one, classic. And two not less conventional Christmas movies, I guess, Trading Places.
Yeah.
And of course Die Hard.
The
Which,
eternal debate.
of course, yes. Oh, and Batman Returns, which
Mhm.
are both playing next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Die Hard is playing at the Nighthawk Cinema in Williamsburg, and Batman Returns, I think, is playing at the Alamo Draft House, I think in New York City.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, and also Klaus on
Yes.
on Netflix. Excellent newer holiday movie. Really well done.
Mhm.
Very great animated sort of an origin story for Santa Claus.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it. That's awesome.
That's Netflix. That's amazing. That is a good one.
Mhm.
Oh, cool. All right, I'm jotting these down mentally right now. The list just keeps growing and growing. There's so much out there. I love it.
Oh, dang it. And now I just remembered another one. Last year's Happiest Season. Just great. That was on Hulu.
Okay.
It's Kristen Stewart going with her girlfriend in the movie, going with her girlfriend home for the holidays and
Okay.
finding out that her girlfriend has not come out to her parents and is planning on doing so after the holidays, and having to deal with all sorts of issues with being closeted. Also, Dan Levy is in it playing the best friend. It's written by Mary Holland, it's just a hilarious script. And Mary Holland also acts in the movie as one of the sisters. Just very, very good.
Oh, and I did catch some of this horrendous Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie. I think it's called Falling for Christmas or something.
Yes, Falling for Christmas.
Oh God, what a terrible movie. She's not the best actress, and I don't know what she did to her. She really went a little overboard with the cosmetic surgery, but
I don't know if it was the surgery as much as other things, drugs and alcohol use.
Maybe, who knows? But yeah, gone are the days of Mean Girls, is what but that was terrible. And yeah, it was, I don't think it was a Hallmark movie.
No, that's part of
it's
the
a
Hallmark
Netflix Christmas
movie. That's now all the streaming services wanting the Hallmark movies.
I will say, as much as like we might be ragging on her a little bit, I am happy to see her healthy. I'm happy to see her making movies that are at least better than The Canyons, which was, I think, one of her last big movies that she made.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be her comeback at the time.
No, exactly. If she's getting clean, and you're right. I don't want to be mean. If she's finally getting clean and trying to get back into things,
I am very happy for her.
Absolutely,
good on her, and I hope she makes some better movies.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yeah, please, for our sake and everybody else's. But all right, guys. So we have a couple minutes left, and I just wanted to finish out the show. First off, with some coming attractions. So basically, this week, only 2 movies are really premiering. We've got the massively popular and anticipated sequel to Avatar, The Way of Water, which I'm a huge James Cameron fan. Even a fan of Avatar. It's a quality film. It's very well made, and this is 13 years in the making for part 2. So
the fact that it's actually finally, after a decade of I promise it's coming, I promise I'm making it, we're making it, everyone, it's coming. It's finally here.
Finally, yeah, and hopefully it will deliver. We shall see. Hopefully, it's not.
The thing is, I don't know how the story is going to be, but I do not doubt if there is one thing Cameron loves, it's undersea photography. And the lengths that he has gone to achieve the underwater photography that they're doing in Avatar 2. I don't know how it's going to be, but I do not doubt the movie is going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's been, I think ever since The Abyss, he's started with the underwater filming. And there was actually a scene in True Lies where Arnold Schwarzenegger basically jumps off a dock after an explosion, and he's basically the camera shows him from his from underneath him, and it's underwater, and actually was a really beautiful shot.
No,
and of course,
Cameron has had a long love affair for. I mean, Titanic came out of that obsession with undersea photography and all that he's done for that, and just the discovery. And so, and the thing is, like, I feel really bad for the actors in Avatar 2, because behind the scenes they're all gillied up in their Na'vi like CG costumes, and they're like in these giant Olympic-sized pools. I cannot imagine how it's just draining it had to be to film these scenes. But you know what, I got some hope. But Cameron, never doubt Cameron. He's always got a trick up his sleeve.
That's true, but I'm really hoping they don't go the Disenchanted route, because it's been a number of years. So our expectations are kind of high. So I don't want anyone to be let down.
I think Cameron you should never underestimate him. I think this, even if it's not the best, I think there's still going to be a lot of admirable qualities to it.
Right. I'm excited too. And yeah, I mean, the first one's great, even though it's the same story as Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves. We've seen this story before. I'm interested to see what direction they're going to go in with the sequel. And I think they're going to be 2 more after this, right?
Well, according to Cameron, he's already filmed the 3rd one. He said he just wants to see the reaction. So maybe another decade we'll get Avatar 3.
Right. Jeez. I just wish he'd do True Lies 2. Yeah, come on. That's just me. All right. So
Rachel, this is going to be the secret sequel to The Abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Rachel, are you excited for Avatar 2?
I think the problem is that there's so many other movies that I'm much more excited for, that I feel like I haven't gotten the same spark from watching the trailers for it. Like, I think that once I'm in the theater and once I'm seeing it on the big screen, I'll have a good time with it, but it's not one that I'm super excited about.
Right.
And I think a big part of that is the passage of time since the first one. I don't know. The first movie was very spectacular. Aside from Zoe Saldana's character, there weren't a lot of characters that I was really just really drawn into. So it's not like I'm going into it going, oh man, I can't wait to see my favorite characters again, the way I would with a new, if it was a new Star Wars, or if it's a new Indiana Jones, for example, seeing the new Indiana Jones, even though it's been so many years, and even though the last one was Crystal Skull, I'm still very excited to see a new Indiana Jones movie because I love this character.
But I would argue, I think even Cameron knows that, and that's why so much the advertising isn't, hey, come back to see your favorite characters. It's there's so much more Pandora to explore.
But I'm saying that for me,
come back to the world.
For me, I get much more excited about that. If it's a franchise thing and it's been a long time, I get much more drawn in by character.
No, I agree.
It isn't so much just world building that excites me.
Right.
And
I think that's what's gonna.
Because the main characters, Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana, their characters were kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I think Zoe Saldana, it was written one-dimensionally, but I think that she elevated it. I think she had a very sort of thankless task of having to bring more to this character than what was on the page.
Agreed.
And I think that she gave the best performance by far of any of the actors in the first movie, except for, I'm being kind of hard on Sigourney Weaver. She was also pretty great. I'll say the ladies in the first movie were doing the work.
Well, I think it doesn't really matter. I think the only reason this review of Avatar. We're not here to review Avatar.
Right. Yes. We'll review it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we have Avatar 2, and we also have just one other movie releasing this week. The Almond and the Seahorse. which is a drama starring Rebel Wilson. So that has potential. I do enjoy her acting. I think she's funny, with potential for drama. So those are the two main films, really the only films being released this week. So yeah, that should be. I think Avatar is going to blow it out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also Matilda the musical was released in the UK and has been topping the box office in the UK this week. So
is that with wait, Emma Thompson, is that or is that the film version?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Yep.
film version of the musical.
Yep.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool. All right. Thanks for thanks for adding that, Rachel. Very cool.
You can definitely tell how excited she is for it.
Yes, it's getting very limited release this next week, and then December 25th is when it is going to be on Netflix, streaming on Netflix. So
very nice. And is the actress playing Matilda anyone notable, or is it a newcomer?
it is a newcomer situation. Yeah, they did one of those like let's find the perfect child actor thing. So
Oh yeah, an audition process of like thousands probably.
Mhm.
So, awesome. All
Definitely.
right, cool. Matilda, yeah, it's a classic story. Love it. So guys, I just want to do some plugs. What's going on? Rachel, what the queen of the plugs. Take it away.
I mean, let me think. So at the Law of Donut Engineering in Jersey City, we have a new December menu. We've got some really good holiday flavors going on. We've got a gingerbread cake donut. We've got one of my personal favorites, one of the first donuts that I developed for the lodge, which was for last Christmas. I developed one called Santa's Jammies that has a peach berry jam on the inside and has a brulee top with cinnamon sugar.
You got to go on the big brunch. You really do. That was awesome.
Yes, well, we've got some really delicious stuff on the menu right now. Great flavors for the holidays, and we also have a new addition for our little cornies, which are cornbread fried chicken bites that are dipped in honey butter glaze. We have an addition of candied jalapenos that you can also get with yours.
Oh my God. This sounds so great. Cool. All right. Mr. Godfrey, anything from you, sir?
Go have the donuts. They're delicious. I
Yes,
actually just had the gingerbread one, and it is fantastic.
Oh, man.
and you can follow our dog, Dobby the House Doggo, on Instagram.
No. Adorable. And also, I before we go, I just want to mention Matilda, the original movie from 94, I think, or 95.
Mhm.
Quality stuff. I think Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman were just perfect in that. I just wanted to tack that on right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was definitely one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. Got a lot of rewatch in our household.
However, I think the book is a lot better.
Yeah.
From what I remember as a kid. All right, guys. So that about does it for the show. I just want to remind viewers and listeners, if you want to catch new episodes of Under the Radar, every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern through Manhattan Neighborhood Network on cable TV channels. That would be FiOS 34, RCN Astound 83, Spectrum 56, 1996. And also you can catch previous episodes of Under the Radar on the YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe and share. Guys, Rachel, Eric, you guys are amazing. Thank you. And Dobby, of course, Sir Dobby.
Best of.
You guys are great. Thank you so much for being here on the show once again. You're always welcome. And yeah, I'm Rand Younger. This has been Under the Radar. I'll see everyone next time. Take care.